You need help in your law firm. You have decided to hire a new team member. That is great. Now, how do you do it? What do you look for? Hi, I'm Sharon Christie, founder and CEO of Bold Women Lawyers. I'm a business coach and business strategist for women lawyers in solo and small law firms. I am a lawyer, and I owned my own solo practice for 16 years. And before that, I was a partner in a small med-mal PI firm. So I do know about the process of hiring. I do know about making mistakes, because I will tell you, I made some fabulous hires and I made some spectacular mistakes. So I hope you can learn something from my experience. Let me give you some of my hiring tips. The very first one, and you've probably heard this before, is to have a crystal clear job description. Maybe you are hiring a paralegal, but a paralegal means a million different things in a million different law firms in terms of what the job tasks are and what the expectations are. You want to be crystal clear about what you want your new hire to do. What are the outcomes that you expect? How will you measure those outcomes? The clearer you can be about what you expect, the better your hire will be. My second tip is to hire for personality first and experience second. Now, I was a disability lawyer, and I will tell you that two of the best hires I ever made were employees who had no experience in a law firm. One had never been in a law firm before, and the other had only been in a law firm to get her own divorce. But they were fabulous employees. So when I say hire for personality first, what I mean is the personality for the job you want done. So for example, the two employees I was just talking about, they were both going to be in client-facing positions. They would be literally the face and the voice of my law firm, because they would be the people that clients would encounter first when they called, and frequently once they became clients, if they were potential clients when they called, and then they became clients, and that's who they were frequently dealing with, much more frequently than dealing with me. I knew that personality was going to be key in those particular positions. So I was looking for, obviously, people who were friendly, but I wanted people who had customer service experience. And I knew that if they were, what we'll talk about in a minute, capable, that I could teach them everything they needed to know. But I looked at their personality first. If it's somebody you're hiring that's only going to deal with team members, that's fine. Is this somebody who's going to get along with your team members? You know, as I said, you can teach someone without experience how to do the job you want done, but you can't change their personality. So personality becomes extremely important. And I also made it a point when I was interviewing to set up a couple of interviews with me, but to set up at least 2 interviews in the office or in person or ultimately on Zoom. One was with me, but the second one was with the team, and I wasn't present. And I would tell the candidate, listen, you're going to have these 2 interviews, first with me, but then with the team. And then we will discuss everything as a team and make a team decision. Because what I found is that the questions that candidates would ask me were very different from the questions they would ask the team. And the opposite was true. The questions I was asking were different from the questions that the team was asking. So I was able to get a much broader knowledge base before making a decision. Now, the third thing I looked at was, is this somebody who I believe is capable and willing? what I meant was, of course, are they capable of doing the job? And part of that would come into reference checks, which I'll talk about in a minute. But are they capable of doing the job? Now, obviously, if you're hiring a lawyer, you have to have somebody who is a lawyer, who's licensed. Are they capable in that respect? But I was more looking at, do they have the ability, the mental ability to do the job? And are they willing to learn how to do it? And are they willing to do it the way we did it? Now, I was always open to, suggestions, ways we could improve. That was great. But where I ran into some really difficult problems was when I had made hires of people who had their own way of doing the work that I wanted done, and they were not willing to make a change, to do things the way that we had found as a group was the best way to do it in our firm. So is somebody capable of doing the job? And I mean, typically I found that was yes. It would be very rare that I would think this is not somebody who's even capable of learning it. Are they capable, and are they going to be willing to do it our way? And we can talk about modifications later, but initially, are they going to be willing to learn how we do it and to do it that way? Now, let's talk for a second about references. And I know that, generally, they don't mean a whole lot, because typically someone will give you the names of people who will speak favorably about them. But I will tell you to check the references anyhow. You might be surprised. And I was surprised more than once when I would get references, and it was typically a supervisor, and I would call, and the person, first of all, didn't even know they had been listed as a reference, and then didn't give a bad reference, but would only say, I will only confirm date of hire and last date worked. Now, that was a big signal to me. If you're not willing to say anything positive about the performance of this employee, that tells me everything I really need to know. Another red flag is when you get references, and I mean, I understand if somebody's currently employed and they don't want their employer to know that they're looking, and you're not going to get references from their current place of employment. We all understand that. But if you get references from former employers, but none of them are supervisors, that's a red flag. And you should really be skeptical under those circumstances, because if I'm applying for a new position, I want the new potential employer to be able to speak to my supervisor, because hopefully my supervisor is going to sing my praises. So as a red flag, if I never got a supervisor. Now, if the experience was at a law firm, and you could do this with other employers, but I would call the law firm, and particularly if I knew people there, and say, hey, so-and-so's just applied for a position with me. Do you know him? Do you know her? What can you tell me? Or do you know who he or she worked for at the firm? Maybe I can speak to them, because I wanted to hear from the supervisors what kind of employee this is, and what kind of performance they gave, and what kind of positives, and were there any negatives? So that's a tip there. Just go ahead and make the phone calls yourself, see if anybody's willing to talk to you. And as I said, I know that some places will have policies that they only confirm date of hire and last date worked, but it has been my experience that if it was a great employee, a supervisor is really very willing to tell you that and how good they were. They're not willing to tell you the bad stuff, but they'll tell you when it was a bad employee, but they will tell you when it was a good employee. So those are some tips about what to do when you have made the decision to hire. Running a successful solo or small law firm is exciting, and it's challenging, and it is a lot of work, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you certainly don't have to go it alone. If you want more business tips, go to my website at boldwomenlawyers.com and download my free solo success guide. You'll find some other helpful, I think, business tips in there. And if you already know, as you're listening, that you have challenges with your law firm that you want to solve now, and you're willing to do a deep dive into them to come up with an action plan to solve those problems, then schedule a free practice and profit audit with me. Let's see what's going on with you, and if there's a way we can work together. Even if there's not, I can assure you that you are going to get at least one actionable item that you can implement right away to improve your law practice. So I hope, and you can schedule that right at boldwomenlawyers.com. I hope you found these hiring tips helpful, and let me know, do you have any tips yourself? What's your experience been like in hiring? Drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you.